Namaskaram to all who have joined and who will be also going through this recording. So this is a special discourse session conducted on the occasion of Shankaracharya Jayanthi and Ramanuja Jayanthi, but we are celebrating it online today. So the first speaker, Praveen Garu, we will talk about Adi Shankaracharya and his teachings, followed by disposed by Arvind Parankusam Garu about Ramanujacharya. And then later we have Suparna Chaganti Garu, who will be reciting Saundarya Lahari and the Bhajagovinda Stotram. Pavan Garu agreed to recite Totakashtakam. And any other volunteers who would like to recite compositions by Adi Shankaracharya and Ramanujacharya. So that is the program for this online session today. And thanks a lot, Praveen Garu, for agreeing to speak about our Jagat Guru Shankaracharya. And yeah, over to you. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to today's session on the auspicious event of Shankaracharya and Ramanujacharya Jayanti. Really delighted to be part of this. And today we will briefly, for about 30 minutes, look at the life, teachings, and work of Shankaracharya. Oh. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. Shri-Gurubhyo Namaha. Shanti Garu, you had a question?
Hello.
Question ఏమైనా ఉందా? Had any questions?
మీ హ్యాండ్ రేజ్ లో ఉందండి, అందుకని అడుగుతున్నారు.
Nothing, I guess. Okay, no worries.
I was pressed by mistake, and sorry.
No problem. All good. I think for some reason the screen sharing seems to be like dropping off intermittently, but in case it gets disconnected, please do let me know. So, Indian philosophical landscape is adorned with many great philosophers. And if we look at how the philosophy of the land itself evolves, time and time again, you will see people who try to distill the essence of any core philosophy. And over a period of time, invariably, the original intentions of the philosophy, whether it is Vedas, Upanishads, right? All of these things, what are called the Arshaya Granthas, the Paurusheya aspect of those, what their intention was, what their message was, it kind of like gets diluted. It's just as a milk that is kept outside over a period of time, even if nothing is being done, it just naturally curdles by itself. Over a period of time, the messages get muddled, diluted, and the essence typically gets lost. The question that emerges under those aspects is like, do we rejuvenate what existed or do we build something new? And there is no right or wrong in this. Depending on each great personality, a great teacher, a great seer, they develop what they rediscover the truth and they propagate that. Amongst those aspects, the act of rejuvenating the Sanatana Dharma was achieved significantly and outstandingly by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. The landscape of the time that he was there was a lot of prominence on Karmakanda. Of the Shat Darshanas, we have the Purva Mimamsa, which places a lot of emphasis on ritualistic aspects, which again, over a period of time, turns into dogma, and that becomes the quintessential message that everything has to be done, and just by doing these things in this manner is how you're going to achieve your intentions, whatever your desires are going to be. So the focus of human life kind of had wavered off. There were too many messages, um, too many kind of attributes and visions that were being laid out by multiple people, and everything was kind of getting very confounded. In this sort of a landscape is where in around 7th century, late 7th, early 8th century thereabouts, we find Adi Shankaracharya arriving in this landscape on the day of the Vaishakha Shukla Panchami. Around this time, from a Gregorian calendar perspective, just around late April, May time frame is where we usually run into that. He was born in Kalati in Kerala. This was a village on the banks of Purna River, and his parents were Aryamba and Shivaguru. Right from the childhood, Aryamba and Shivaguru, they were very ardent devotees of Lord Shiva. And it is said that Aryamba and Shivaguru both had a vision that Lord Parameshwara, Shiva himself, is going to be born. And out of that vision, when Aryamba conceives, he is the child, he is named as Shankara. When he was just about 3 year old, or just as he was reaching 3 years old, Shivaguru passes away, which is the first kind of an exposure into a very tragic event that happens. The family was fairly well-to-do. There was sufficient material aspects that did not pose a significant problem otherwise. But what was very evident was from childhood, Shankaracharya or Shankara, Bala Shankara, had a lot of talent. Cognitively, scholastically, he was amazing. Having gone through the Upanayana ceremony, he was living the life of a appropriate brahmachari, doing the Bhikshatana and all of that. And even during that time, we see a very famous story of how he would have gone to the place of a poor lady who, not having found anything else at home, gives him a gooseberry, right? The amla, nellikai, what we say. And very with a lot of remorse, she says, I could not find anything. We are very poor. This is what I have. Please receive this. And right at that spot, on that spot itself, Shankara composes the amazing Kanakadhara Stuti. And it is said that it rained golden gooseberries. And the house apparently still exists even to this day. Pretty well to do, obviously. Apart from that, what we see is how devoted Shankara was towards his mother. We find this narrative, we will see, kind of goes throughout his life. He had a very ardent love towards his mother. And so much so that it is said that every day his mother had to go to the banks of Purna River for performing all the different austerities, chores, everything. And it was really taking a toll on her. And Shankaracharya he composes another poetic composition, which so pleased the river that it changed the course and started like, flowing. There is a way where you can see that the river has a little bit of like a twist, and it flows much closer to the place where Shankaracharya is said to have lived his childhood. There were many instances where even the king of Kerala, having heard of his scholastic abilities, his aptitude and all of that, and his poetic compositions and everything, he comes to meet Shankara to invite him to be a part of his court. But Shankaracharya refuses. He says, "No, I'm not interested in any of these, accolades or recognitions. Whatever the king would have brought in order to give to Shankara, he says, we are well to do. There is no need to kind of like, receive all of these things. It serves no purpose for us. We have sufficient enough for our livelihood. Please distribute it." And through the king's own hands, he gets it distributed to all the other needy people around in the place. And all of this kind of like gives us an idea of how detached he was from the material aspects. And Shankara would have decided that, what, I think sannyasa is the right way for me to go. But now, knowing how attached he was to his mother and the conditions, like, it was just her, had lost her father and he was the only son. So the challenge of how to get the permission, and this is very important, right? In the Indian tradition, sannyasa cannot be just taken willy-nilly. Anyone who is interested in taking sannyasa has to duly get permission from everybody in the family, especially those who are core dependents, children, spouses, all of them. Everyone has to happily bless and send them forth. So the question in Shankara's mind is like, how do I get this permission from my mom? So one day when he would be bathing in Purna River, it is said that he cries out to his mother saying that there's a crocodile that has caught hold of my leg. I don't think I'll be able to survive. I'm a young child, right? So I'm a young child. I can't fight this off. Aryamba, who would be at the banks, she sees Shankara struggling and she starts screaming for help. Nobody arrives. And Shankaracharya screams. Shankara screams and to his mother and says, if I don't survive this, I don't want to die this kind of like a death. Please permit me so that I can take up sannyasa right here at this moment, so that my death is not going to go in vain. At least at the time of death, they say that, you have to take sannyasa, right? So there are those 4 ashramas, right? So after vanaprastha, then you have sannyasa. So he says, my death is kind of imminent. You please give me permission right away. And then she agrees, not, out of that desperation to ensure that, her son's wishes are going to be fulfilled. Aryamba agrees. And it is said at that time, the crocodile just left him and, Shankara survived. The metaphor, sometimes there are metaphorical elements to a lot of these stories. Maybe it was more about Shankara kind of talking about how the samsara itself, the materialistic world, kind of ensnares us so strongly, as though it is like a crocodile that would have caught you, and you are not able to easily detach yourself. You're not able to easily get out of those strong hold that the teeth of a crocodile would have, whatever that be. Essentially, Shankaracharya receives the permission from his mother to take up sannyasa. He speaks to all of his relatives. Everyone will be like, this is good. Any family in which a sannyasi, anyone from the family, if they take up sannyasa, it is said that their previous 7 generations and the upcoming 7 generations, they're all going to be like, liberated. They're all going to be blessed. is the belief in Indian philosophy system. And so everyone agrees. Shankaracharya requests his relatives to take care of his mother, and he sets off in pursuit of a guru. And Bala Shankara, he hears of Govinda Bhagavad Pada, who himself would be the disciple of Gaudapada Acharya, who was at that time one of the most profound visionaries. Jativada of Gaudapada is a very tremendous philosophy, very staunch Advaiti. So all of these philosophies of Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, everything existed. It was just about which one would want to propound, right? We find all of these lines of reasonings existing in many of the Arshaya Granthas. In any case, Gaudapada was a proponent of Advaita, and Govinda Bhagavad Pada was his Shishya, who was living on the banks of Narmada. So Shankara goes to meet Gaudapada, and he meets. It's very interesting. When he first met Govinda Bhagavad Pada, Shankara is asked by Bhagavad Pada, Kastvam, who are you? And it is said that is where Shankaracharya did his another outstanding composition. And he says, Shivoham, 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 I am Shiva, I am Shiva, which really pleases Govinda Bhagavad Pada, and he accepts him as his disciple and duly, brings him into the sannyasa ashrama. And thereafter, he is renamed Shankaracharya. So again, his scholasticity stands out very quickly. He learns every aspect that is taught by Govinda Bhagavad Pada. And even over there, he performs a lot of his tapasiddhi. His sadhana is evident to Govinda Bhagavad Pada at every point of his stay with him. And it is said that there was once a time when Govinda Bhagavad Pada was deeply in meditation, in samadhi. The Narmada river had overflown. Maybe it was the monsoon season. And even if right now, if you go to the river Narmada, you can see how it's very ferocious river. So it would have overflown, and the ashrama would be at the risk of flooding. And it is said that again, Shankaracharya at that point in time, he composes the Narmadashtakam, and he subdues the flow of the river. He assimilates all of that into his Kamandalu. Again, different metaphorical aspects that are involved around here. But in any case, after finishing his studies, he receives permission from Govinda Bhagavad Pada, and Govinda Bhagavad Pada tells him, there is a lot of confusion. I want you to set forth, travel across the country, go everywhere, and try to re-establish what was the core essence of the Sanatana Dharma. Go spread it. There is a need to reset all of these different narratives and bring the focus back to what really matters. Having received that permission and the task from his guru, Shankaracharya sets out to Kashi. Kashi was at that point in time one of the most eminent places where a lot of scholastic debates used to happen. A lot of scholars would be there. It was the heart. It was literally the heart of the entire Bharatakhanda at that point in time, which is where you see even way before Buddha also, after attaining his nirvana, he comes to Kashi to give his very first sermon. So Shankaracharya travels to Kashi, and throughout this, from this point onwards, we see amazing experiences that Shankaracharya comes face to face with. At Kashi, he meets a Chandala on the way when he's going to the banks of to the river Ganga in order to take his bath. It is said that a Chandala comes in front of him, And the Chandala is told, Apasara, Apasara. It's like, move away, move away. And the Chandala questions him, whom are you asking to move? Is it this body, which is a jada, as it is, it cannot move by itself? Or are you addressing the Chetana, which is all pervasive? How is this Chetana? If you're talking to my Chetana, how is this Chetana different from yours? And where should it move? Something that is all pervasive, movement can only happen from a point where nothing exists to a point where, from a point where it exists to a point where it does not exist. If it is all pervasive, what is supposed to move? And if you're addressing this body, the body cannot move by itself. So who should move over here? And immediately Shankara realizes what a profound statement this person made. And he literally does a Dandavat Sashtanga Pranama in front of him and composes the Manisha Panchakam, which is a very outstanding verse. And the core essence of that verse, he really can be distilled into one sentence where he says that it doesn't matter whether you are a Vipra or whether you are a Antyaja, anyone who has realized his self is a guru for me. It doesn't matter who you are. And we'll see this narrative again and again emerges in our Indian philosophy, whether we look at Avadhuta Gita, with Datta, how all of the different, even like animals become gurus. You can learn from anything and everything. That's the most important aspect of Indian philosophical tradition. In any case, so that happens. And from there, after spending some time in Kashi, Shankara travels to Badrinath, where he writes the bhashyas for Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras are very traditionally attributed to that of Badarayana, also another name for Veda Vyasa. And it is said that in Badrinath, Shankara has a vision of Veda Vyasa. He meets with Veda Vyasa, who would have come in another form, and questions Shankaracharya on a lot of what he would have written in his bhashyas for his Brahma Sutras. And having admired, and he commends him and says that you have finally understood what I had really written the Brahma Sutras for, and you have very duly written a wonderful commentary on it. And Vyasa is said to have appeared in his real form. Having written the Brahma Sutras for the bhashyas, now he would want someone to write Vyakhyana. It's like explanation. I have given a commentary. Now there is a need for someone to explain it. And typically, again, from a scholastic tradition, if someone writes a bhashya, they can themselves write Vyakyanas for their work. But it is even more appropriate, it is even more preferable when someone else does it. Because someone else has understood and they can explain, right? So that's the tradition that is always preferred. So Shankaracharya sets out to figure out who can write the bhashya, and he would have heard about Mandana Mishra. Kumarila Bhatta. But before that, while he is at Kashi, that is where I think Sananda from Chola, Tamil Nadu, the current Tamil Nadu, he meets Sananda, who becomes Shankaracharya's very first disciple, and he is named Padmapada. So we will see throughout his journey how he starts having disciples join him. So the first one is named Padmapada post Sannyas Ashrama. And so Padmapada and Shankara, they travel towards Prayag. So Kashi to Prayag, he comes in search of Kumarila Bhatta. What would have happened is Kumarila Bhatta, in order to revive, Kumarila Bhatta also would be on this path of reviving the Sanatana Dharma. At that point in time, around that region, right, I told you, Buddha had come to Kashi very first to give his sermon. So around that time, in that region, Buddhism was extremely prominent. And Kumarila Bhatta was so devoted to the right methodology that in order to critique Buddhism, he wanted to learn Buddhism properly. You have to first learn something and then you can critique, right? So Kumarila Bhatta had gone to a very famous Buddhist monk at that time, and he had duly learned all aspects of Buddhism from him at that point in time. And this is again, like, from the time of Buddha, this was like several centuries had already passed. So he then writes a critique on Buddhism and calls out all the deficiencies that existed in it to uphold the Sanatana Dharma. But Kumarila Bhatta at that point in time is consumed by a lot of guilt, because he feels like, by doing this act, I have performed Guru Droha, because I learned Buddhism from my Guru. But my intention of doing that was to critique Buddhism and point out its flaws and uphold Sanatana Dharma. And therefore, I have performed Guru Droha. And for performing Guru Droha, the only if you want to repent, that for performing something like this, for doing Guru Droha, is to kill yourself. You have to give up your body. So Kumarila Bhatta at that point in time would have already put a lot of hay, like, I think it is hay. Sometimes it is also called, in some versions, you will also see that it is referred to as the sawdust powder, right? So in any case, it is a very slow burning death that he would have committed himself to. At that point in time, Shankaracharya comes to Kumarila Bhatta, and Kumarila Bhatta would have already, set himself like the haystack. He would be in the middle, surrounding himself with hay all over, and that would have been set to fire. And Shankaracharya tries to dissuade him immensely to not go through with it. But Kumarila Bhatta says, no, I have to go through it. I have decided, and now I'm not going to go back. However, I would want you to go to Mandana Mishra, who was a disciple of Kumarila Bhatta. And he says, go to Mandana Mishra. However, he is a staunch Karmakandi, a very strong proponent of the Purva Mimamsa, like a core Karmakandi. You have to go defeat him, because your perspective is that it is through jnana. It is not about ritualistic dogmas. You are emphasizing that all of this has to ultimately culminate in jnana, and through jnana is when there is going to be Jivan Mukti. Not just Shankaracharya kind of put the Videha Mukti as Gauna. It is secondary. The Sadeha Mukti, the Jivan Mukti, is what is most important, right? That was the Shankaracharya gave. So Shankaracharya goes to meet Mandana Mishra, and he tells him that I have come here for, and Mandana Mishra invites him home for Bhiksha, and he says, no, I want Vada Bhiksha from you. I want to debate you. And when two parties are going to get into a debate, they have to kind of establish the norms of the debate. So Mandana Mishra says that if I get defeated, I'll accept sannyasa and I will learn from you, and I'll propound whatever your messages are going to be. But if you are going to get defeated, then Shankaracharya says that I'll stop teaching completely. I'll stop teaching. So both of them engage in the debate, and obviously Mandana Mishra is defeated. It's a very, again, all of these are very interesting ones. Just given the time duration, I'm going to skip through a lot of these details. After Mandana Mishra, even his wife Ubhaya Bharati, who herself would have been a great scholar, she also engages in a debate with Shankaracharya, and she also accepts defeat. And happily, she also gives permission to her husband to take up sannyasa. And then now Mandana Mishra is renamed as Sureshwaracharya, and now the second disciple, Shankaracharya, acquires. And anyways, so from there, he travels to Sri Shaila, Gokarna, Kollur, and throughout this path, I think when he is in Sri Shaila, we see the incident that happens with Kapalika, Bhairava, who would have wanted to sacrifice Shankaracharya for the Bhairava Radhana. But anyways, there is the Narasimha Stotra that Padmapada would have chanted, which is said to have averted that disaster. And anyway, so from there he comes to Kolluru, Gokarna, all of these places in Karnataka, and then he arrives at Sringeri, where he sees a very unusual sight where a frog, which would be pregnant, kind of laying eggs, and it's a very blistering summer weather. There's a afternoon sun. This frog is laying eggs, and it is being sheltered by a snake. A snake is giving shade from the afternoon sun to this frog which is laying eggs, and Shankaracharya is moved where he says that in this kshetra, there is no enmity at all. This is so pious. This is so profoundly pious that there is no natural enmity. All the basal instincts that exist within us are overcome just by virtue of being in this place. And he decides that this is the point from where I'm going to start the whole aspect, what he would have been doing throughout his life in terms of re-establishing that Sanatana Dharma. He says, I'm going to institutionalize that effort over here, and establishes the very first mutt. The Sringeri mutt is established for the first time over there. At that point in time, he would have met again Hastamalaka in, I think he meets Hastamalaka when he is going from Gokarna towards Kolluru via Udupi. So at that time, Udupi was called Shivalli. What is now very famous as Udupi was earlier called Shivalli, and there is a very beautiful Shiva temple over there where Shankaracharya would have gone. And over there, he meets another person, a Brahmin disciple, and he is inducted into Shankaracharya's Sannyasa Diksha, and he is named Hastamalakacharya. And from there, while he's at Sringeri, one of his disciples, one of his sub-disciples, like Giri, he gives a very profound vision to Giri, and who, when he's crossing the Tunga river, just chanting Shankara, he composes a very beautiful shloka on Shankaracharya, which is very famous as Totakashtakam, and he just crosses the river, and it is said that the lotuses bloom throughout his path. He becomes the fourth disciple. So all the four disciples by now would have been acquired by Shankaracharya. And while he's at Sringeri, he comes to know that his mother is not keeping well, and that she is on her final days. Again, as I said, he's so deeply connected with his mother. Shankaracharya returns to Kalati, and at that point in time, to ensure that his mother has a very peaceful passing, he's said to have given his mother the vision, his true form as Shiva, and Aryamba is she's spellbound, and then she requests, can you also give me the darshana of Vishnu? And Shankaracharya gives her the vision of Vishnu also, and Aryamba passes away very peacefully. But what happens later is really something that we have to always remember when talking about Shankaracharya's personality. Passing of his mom gave him a lot of pain, obviously, but what happened was, when he wanted to perform the final rites of his mother, the entire community of that village, including his very relatives, they all shun him. They say, you are a sannyasi, you have kind of renounced all of your family ties, so you cannot perform your mother's final rites, and you have no eligibility. And they refuse to even give him the fire, right? Because Shivaguru had already passed off, so the the Garhapatyagni was already extinguished. It is just Aryamba. So the fire had to be brought from someone else. And they say, we are not going to give you the fire even to light your mother's pyre. Shankaracharya is extremely hurt and dejected, and almost he loses his patience over there. He finally sets up the pyre, he collects all the wood that is needed, and from his hand itself, by rubbing his hand, he generates enough heat to light the pyre, and he performs the final rites, and in utmost like agony, he curses. It is said that he's cursed that entire population over there, that they are all become Veda Bahiras. That even if you learn Veda, you will not be able to recite it properly, and it's not going to give you any fruits. Even to this day, the community that belongs to that region, they keep traveling to Kolluru again and again, performing to, like, praying for delivery from that curse. In any case, after that, he sets out again on another pan-India journey. This time, he first starts it from Rameshwaram. He comes to Rameshwaram. He first visits Rameshwaram with all the 4 disciples. He has an amazing vision of Lord Shiva over there. From there, he travels to Maharashtra, Bengal, Punjab, Kashi, and finally reaches Kashmir, where he ascends the Sarvagnya Pitha of Kashmir. There is a very beautiful Sharada temple in Kashmir even to this day, and it is said that there used to be a throne or basically a seat, not really a majestic throne or a thing like that. It was an asana. It was a seat that would be reserved for people who have really demonstrated high philosophical and scholastic capabilities. And Shankaracharya, there would have been, like, to ascend to that, there would have been 4 doors to get into that room. There was a door in the east, west, north, and south. Already there had been people who had ascended that Sarvagnya Pitha from East India, from West India, from North India. The first one to ever ascend that from South India, it was Shankaracharya. So the south door, the south facing door, finally gets opened because of Shankaracharya, and he ascends the Sarvagnya Pitha. And around this time when he's traveling, he would have established the 4 mutts. I already spoke about Sringeri in south, right? So in east, that is Puri, Jagannatha Puri. There is 1 mutt that is established. In north, it is Badrinath, and in west, it is Dwarka. And in each of the 4 disciples, right? So Sureshwaracharya, who belonged to the Yajurveda tradition, is established as the head of the mutt in Sringeri. In Dwaraka, Padmapada, who belonged to the Samaveda tradition, he is established in Dwaraka. Yajurveda, like as I already said, it came to Sringeri. And Atharva Veda, Totakacharya gets established as the head of the mutt in Badrinath. And finally, Jagannatha Puri gets Hasta Malaka, who is a Rigvedi. After achieving all of this, ascended the Sarvagnya Pitha, finally, Shankaracharya decides that, okay, I have now institutionalized everything. I have established people who will take this light forward. I have written all the works, everything that I have known, I have understood, I have realized, I have inculcated everything in all of my works, and now everything can now be taken forward by everybody else. And he decides that it is now time for me to leave. And at the age of 32, Shankaracharya comes to Kedarnath, and having finally taken the darshana of Lord Shiva, Kedareshwara over there, it is said that he finally ascends the Himalayas. Right from there, he leaves, and he is never seen. Obviously, attains his Nirvikalpa Samadhi over there. So again, like throughout, as I said, one of the key achievements, like there's a very famous shloka again. It is said, Ashte Varshe Chaturvedi Dvadashe Sarvashastravit Shodashe Kritavan Bhashyam Dvatrimshe Munirabhyagat. When he was barely 8-year-old, he had become well versed in all the 4 Vedas. By the time he was 12, he had learned all the Shruti, Smruti, Puranas, everything had become kind of like, evident for him. He was an outstanding scholar by the time he was 12 years old. And by the time he was 16, he had written all the bhashyas, the Prasthanatraya bhashyas, everything had been written. And Dvatrimshe Munirabhyagat, by the time he was 32, he had shed his mortal coils. So establishing all of these mutts, establishment of the Panchayatana Puja, he's also called the Shanmata Sthapanacharya. So irrespective of whoever is the core Ishtadaiva that you have, he advocated that everyone has to be duly respected. It is not just because I like one, my preference for one doesn't mean that I'm going to look down upon anybody else. So the whole Panchayatana Puja was propounded by him, and obviously Advaita Siddhanta is what he also preached. And a lot of his key compositions already, the Prasthanatraya Bhashyas, and then Gaudapada Karika, which is what Gaudapada had written for Mandukya Upanishad. He wrote the Bhashya for that. And of course, a lot of Prakarana Granthas. Prakarana Granthas are basically works that propound a particular aspect of the philosophy, right? So it presents a concept. That is, anything that only focuses on one particular concept is called a Prakarana Grantha. He has written a lot of Prakarana Granthas, Viveka Chudamani, Upadesha Sahasri, Aparokshanubhuti, Drisya Viveka, Vakya Vritti, Prapanchasar, several that he has written. And obviously everyone is extremely familiar with so many devotional compositions, many of which are attributed to Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, but it is not entirely sure whether it was he who composed or one of the later Shankaracharyas, because anyone who ascends the Pitha of the Mutt is also called Shankaracharya. So there is very strong debate on some of the shlokas that are very popularly attributed to Adi Shankara, whether it was really Adi Shankaracharya who wrote it or somebody else. But in any case, lots of devotional compositions that he has written, and the core philosophy being Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, right? And the importance of Guru, he laid a lot of emphasis that if you want to understand the true essence of Vedas, Shastras, Puranas, Upanishads, it should all be learnt through a proper Guru, because only a right Guru who himself has realized can impart the right knowledge, right? And Jnana is essential for mukti. Bhakti and karma both lead to Jnana. Therefore, it doesn't matter which path you're going to come from. As long as you're dedicated on that, you will attain that moksha, that mukti. And Jivan Mukti is what is more important than Videha Mukti. These are all key aspects of his teaching. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. Any questions? Then more time.
Praveen,
Yes, Uncle.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, very elegantly summarized Shankara's life within 45 minutes. That's amazing. You cover all important aspects of Shankara's life. But I keep hearing that during his time, Buddhism was it prevalent, or there is a complaint that he destroyed Buddhism in India? Is that true?
No. Absolutely not. In fact, we will see, we can even archaeologically also, we can find that even post Shankara's time, Buddhism was very well prevalent. But the thing is, there is a lot of these kind of narratives that emerged much later period, because there was a need to kind of extravagantly idealize the core proponents, right? And we see a lot of these kind of narratives that have emerged, and it is not true. It is absolutely not true. In fact, if you see the Bhashyas, even when he is critiquing Buddhism, it is very few places that we see where it is called he calls out what were the kind of shortcomings in the narrative of Buddhism that existed at his point in time. He never criticizes Buddha, Gautama Buddha. And that he destroyed all the Buddhists, he made them kind of commit suicide and burn them. All not true. In fact, Buddhism kind of like, gets destroyed much, much later, after even a couple of more centuries after Shankaracharya had passed. Vidyadharu. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I had a doubt about Kumarila Bhattagaru was he was the Sishya of about the Guru at some point of time.
Correct.
And then Mandana Mishra was also the Sishya of Kumarila Bhattu. So
Correct.
can we equate something here? Like, I mean, I never heard anyway that Mandana Mishra was also following Buddhism, but I don't think, right? He was
No.
only very karmic person.
Yes.
And
What
but he was
Mandana
not
Mishra-
aligned to Buddhism, right?
So the reason why Mandana Mishra did go to a Buddhist guru was because, as I said, he wanted to critique Buddhism. Like, what were the flaws or what were the shortcomings? Like, if you read Dhammapada and all of the later cantos of Buddhism, which are recorded as like, Digha Nikaya, Samyukta Nikaya, or Majjhima Nikaya, all of these, if you read of Buddha, you will see the core essence of what he was talking about. Later period of time, when it kind of like started spreading, and especially from Sri Lanka and all of that, when there are like, more Nagarjuna and others, when by the time they start writing the Vyakhyanas for what Buddha had said, it had become very different. So at that point in time, what was being propounded in Buddhism, whatever shortcomings existed, he wanted to critique that. He wanted to point it out. Now, in order to point out some flaws, you have to first understand what is being said. And if you want to understand what is being said, you need to go to a guru. You have to learn duly from a guru. So he goes to a guru and takes that Shishyatva, not from the point of becoming a practicing Buddhist, but from the point of learning Buddhism properly, as was being propounded at that point in time. And then, having learned, he writes these criticisms. So he is now taken over by guilt, saying that, okay, I did it, but by performing this, I have committed Gurudroha. And therefore, he would have already decided that I'm going to do this. This is going to re-establish the greatness of Sanatana Vada. And after establishing this, I'll give up my body because I knowingly am committing this crime. I'm knowingly going to a guru, learning and using that teaching to defeat whatever the guru has taught me. So the outcome of this is that I have to die, but I'll at least perform this and I'll die. That is how staunch Karmakandi Kumarila Bhatta was. And Mandana Mishra, being his disciple, he was also very strongly inclined towards Karmakanda.
I think that's when he will create the chiti and then he'll sit on the chiti and give us his body.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Any other questions?
Praveen, the follow-up question is not related to that one, but how come Shankaracharya became so much prevalent, whereas his gurus, those who gave him the education, did not get the recognition that they should have?
It is, I think it is a conscious choice that happens. For example, every person may not be inclined to travel across the world, across the country, across the land, and go indulge in all the activities that are necessary to propagate their idea. Like, for example, Gaudapada had written Gaudapada Karika. He's written, the only one that is available right now is the Gaudapada Karika that was written as the commentary on Mandukya Upanishad. Over where Gaudapada propounds Ajativada, which is like such a kind of like very complicated view of Advaita that it leaves anyone literally baffled. So given at that time with the Nyaya, Mimamsa, and then all of these other divisions that existed, there were Charvakas and everything, to go and indulge in debates and engage in all of these scholarly exchanges across all of them, it's not everyone would want to do it. But they will wait for someone who has that sort of like an inclination, that sort of an aptitude to go engage in conversations, debate, and establish something and make it accessible to every person, right? It is all about what is my priority. So whether it was Gaudapada or Govinda Bhagavatpada, they were all very well renowned. That is why Shankaracharya traveled all the way from Kerala to Narmada, to all where we see the current like Madhya Pradesh and all of that region, searching for him but they were not easily accessible to everybody. Some people knew, but they were like, there is this great person, so go to him and learn from him. It is exactly what we see happening even with Vivekananda also. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was outstanding. But Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's priority was not to travel the world and, give the message of Sanatana Dharma in all different languages and make it accessible to everybody. He said, that's not my priority. I will get someone and I'll make him do it on behalf of me. And that is what we see happens throughout all great visionaries. When they have the right teacher, they inculcate that energy, they spot that capability in them, and then they let them go, giving them the right direction. And that is what happened with Shankaracharya. And by virtue of that, it becomes more prominent. But true, even as we see in Vivekananda, also in Shankaracharya, there is always that submission, there is always that utmost reverence towards their Guru Parampara.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Praveen Garu. Thanks a lot. I think they are taking through the life history of Shankaracharya and his works in a short span of 45 minutes. Might have been a real challenge, but thanks a lot. And this Pravachanam is even more important this year and at this time of the year, because just 3 days back we had Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Swami taking Sannyasa Diksha, and then I think most of us have watched it, and we can relate a lot of things that have happened in the life history of Shankaracharya, and also with the Sannyasa Diksha speaker Karikramam, what we saw on TV, on the channels.
Yeah.
I think very good discourse. I think we can relate a lot of it.
Yeah. And one interesting observation, even to this day, in the Shankaramnaya, in the Shankara Pitha, a mother will never bow down to the Purvashrama mother never bows down to the Yeti. Charya, like Shankaracharya.
And I think the mother continues to be mother, right? Because even in the life history of Shankaracharya, he was participating in her Antyeshti Karikramam also, right? So I think that is
how high that place has been given for a mother. She will never, even the mother comes, Acharya will get down and he will bow. A mother does not do it.
Right, yes, yeah. Thanks a lot, Sandy. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm so sorry if I've overshot. But thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Sandy. Yeah. So now we will continue this session. We have Arvind Parankusham Garu, who will talk about Ramanujacharya. I mean, Shankar Jayanthi and Ramanujacharya Jayanthi happens on the same day, and I think great people, many great people are born in this month. And request Arvind Garu to please talk to us about Ramanujacharya and his greatness. Sandy.
Yeah. Thank you, Vidyaji. And thank you, Praveenji, for a wonderful lecture. I was fascinated. I was listening to you. So very, lucid and, very good flow of your words. And it was very interesting to hear you have nicely presented it, the greatness of Adi Shankara. So definitely pleased to hear the, good, nice presentation from you. Thank you for sharing that information. Yeah, I'll try to limit much. I wanted to prepare a presentation and share it, but I couldn't do it. I'll see what I can do in my capacity and this time. So we'll start with my obeisances to my Acharya. काश्यपान्वय सञ्जातं शरण्यार्यपदाश्रितं वैराग्यजलधिं वन्दे रङ्गरामानुजं मुनिं काश्यपान्वय सञ्जातं नारायणपदाश्रितं श्रीमन्नारायणं वन्दे यतीश्वरश्रियाजुषम्. Listening to Adi Shankara's commentary, Praveenji mentioned he prayed to Lord Narasimha that I always chant whenever I feel low, that it is always uplifting kind of thing. So that Karavalamba Stotram, I'll start with that shloka as well. Srimat Payonidhi Niketana Chakrapane Bhogindra Bhoga Maniranjita Punya Murte. Sorry, I forgot. श्रीमत्पयोनिधि निकेतन चक्रपाणे भोगीन्द्र भोग मणिरंजित पुण्यमूर्ते. Anyone remembers? Sorry, I forgot. I chant it every day, but I forgot somehow. So it ends with Mama Dehi Karavalambam. Lakshmi
Yogisha Shashwata
Sharanya Bhavabdhipota Lakshmi Nrusimha Mama Dehi Karavalambam. So I pray to Lord Narasimha to uplift all of us to the state that our acharyas always wish, and may all of us follow the path of our acharya, as it said in scriptures, Gurum Prakashayet Dhiman. So we pray to the lotus feet of our acharyas to give us the strength and energy and the dedication to follow to at least a drop in their expectations. Listening to the greatness, right? So our ashaktata is amazing when we think of ourselves, right? When there is nothing, like think about, there were the challenges that were before Adi Shankara, Ramanujacharya were, we cannot compare it at all. And whatever we have it, when we compare with them, it is nothing. That is why they have become the, Darshaka Sthapaka Acharyas or Trimatacharyas. Even after 1,000 or 1,500 years, we are still, there, whatever the established systems, we are still following it and practicing the same system. So that is definitely a great testament to the contribution of these acharyas, and we are forever indebted to them. It is always said in that there are 5 types of runa we can never repay: Matru runa, Pitru runa, Deva runa, Rishi runa, and Bhuta runa. I think something Bhuta runa or something like that. So and among, even Veda says Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. And in Taittiriya Upanishad says Acharya Priyandhana Mahrutya Prajatantum Ma Vyavachetsi. So always you have to be forever indebted to Acharya, and also usually it is the mother and father gives you the birth, but the real birth is when you know yourself, right? There is shloka in Smriti, Swajnanam Prapaka Jnanam Prapya Jnanam Paramartham Mumukshubhi Jnanatrayam Upadeyam Etadanyan Nakinchana. You need to know yourself, you need to know Swajnanam Prapaka Jnanam Prapya Jnanam. The Jnanam that you need to know about yourself, who you are, and what you need to achieve, and the one who gives you that jnanam. So it is how many lectures we can, how much time we ever spent, the greatness of acharyas is it's a kind of always a, how much ever we do, it is a drop in the ocean. Of course, in the interest of time and the limitation of time, I'll try to reflect on whatever the little knowledge I have about Bhagavad Ramanujacharya. If we, as you all know, Ramanujacharya appeared in 11th century after almost Adi Shankara is of 9th century, and Ramanujacharya is of 11th century. As Pravinji mentioned, the other Avaidika matas are still prevalent during that time. And there was another, when Adi Shankara's time, it was a different kind of challenge, because the Karma Kanda, as he mentioned, it became more dogmatic, and people were more indulging in sense gratification through these. The real purpose is lost of the Vedic Sanatana Dharma, and they were more indulging and in the sense gratification through all these Vedic activities. And the society was so much set apart. And obviously, because of the dogmatic religions, the Avaidika matas like Buddhism, Jainism, they were more, people were turning towards them. It may not be, it's more of to do with the dogmatic, and people got fed up with these more materialistic and more ritualistic practices, and they were turning towards Buddhism. It is kind of a deviation from the Sanatana Dharma. But that is, everything has a purpose in the, if you take the journey of the life, right, journey, so everything has a time and place. So that is also our acharyas believe that is one way to change the course and reset, give a reset button, which Adi Shankara he, with his grace, he was able to reset that button and establish the right, bring back the Sanatana dharmic path into mainstream, and removed all the unnecessary and the dogmatic practices, and brought back a sense of purpose, and the real purpose of Vedanta and Dharma, all these practices. Again, taking time, taking couple of centuries forward, there was another challenge, and the outside religions. Now, outside religions started coming into our Bharata Varsha, and as well as the societies are also were kept apart. The dharmic fruits of the dharmic wisdom were not reaching the end of the spectrum, everyone. So that is when the Ramanujacharya's time was there. So I with whatever little knowledge I have, I see Ramanujacharya's life in, if you take his life, I'll put it into four kind of perspectives. One, Ramanuja as a great preacher of devotion, Bhakti Siddhanta. So Bhakti Siddhanta is the one where you do the lot of ritualistic, but if you lose the bhava itself, right, then it becomes more mundane and very dry kind of subject. So Ramanuja instilled the Bhakti Siddhanta, and for the Bhakti, it is Vishwasa is the main ingredient, though the rituals are, becomes the angam of the entire process, but the Bhakti is the main thread. It becomes the main thread of the entire practice. So the Ramanuja has re-established the Bhakti Siddhanta and brought everyone, all the entire the communities together through this. You may not be see, even we know so much about our acharyas, how much their scholarship and their contributions, and how much time we were able to spend and learn whatever the scriptures. We can speak about the greatness, but how much time we are really spending on learning these scriptures, it becomes difficult. And especially for the people who are not born into the Vedic tradition and who are doing the other activities like farming and different other into different professions, for them it is not definitely possible to go through all these, learn all these scriptures and get the understand the scriptures. So that is where the Siddhanta, Bhakti Siddhanta comes into picture. You don't need to know. You follow, you surrender to a guru, and follow the teachings of guru through bhakti, and then you can get the moksha, or the purpose, purushartha. So that is the Siddhanta Ramanuja. It doesn't mean that he invented something. Always say, when we say usually in the English, when we translate certain words, it becomes it doesn't exactly properly translate. Like we say founder acharya, it is not founder acharyas. We say, always say darshaka pravartaka acharyas. We say pravartaka, whatever that is in the Vedic scripture, Sanatana Dharma, they brought it out and gave a nice presentation that everyone can more organized way. They brought it up and presented it to the entire common folk, so that everyone can practice these siddhantas or philosophies in a more realistic way, practical way. So that is what Ramanujacharya did. And the second aspect, if I can take, is his scholarship. Obviously, to our Sanatana Dharma is based on the scriptures, Shruti, Smriti, Itihasa, Purana. So all these Upanishads, unless you have an authenticity, pramanam, without pramanam, tomorrow anyone can come up with any philosophy and say, okay, this is what it is, I propose. So it becomes, it doesn't have a pramana and authenticity, so it becomes very vague, and it can have problems of deviation and viparitarthas as well. So that is why scholarship is knowing establishing the Veda Pramana itself is pretty much important. So again, similar to Adi Shankara, Ramanujacharya has contributed to this Vedic philosophy through his scholarship, and in his in his life we can see how he gave certain wonderful explanations to this Vedantic philosophy. And he also did a commentary on Brahma Sutras. Gita Bhashyam also is there, and various other contributions of Ramanuja. Is another more important one is being the propagating the Divya Prabandhas of Alvars. So Ramanuja did that. So again, the bhakti comes into this Divya Prabandha itself. Like for the scholars, people who are interested in more Vedantic, Vyakarana, Chanda, and all these Mimamsa, Shastra Jnana, is always, there'll be one sect of people, they'll be always interested in it. But for the common people, they want the essence, always juice, not the fruit, not the sugar cane, but the sugar juice, the juice itself. So for the people that he supplied through Divya Prabandham and the Bhakti Siddhanta, commentaries on Ramayana and other scriptures, Tirupavai as well. So this is another aspect of Ramanuja, and he took lot of time. Ramanuja graced this earth for about 120 years. So he had lot of time to experience the life in entirety, and learn so many things, and his acharyas. So he contributed to this Sanatana Dharma, the Veda Vangmayam, through Brahma Sutras. It is called Sri Bhashyam, Gita Bhashyam, and other ways. So this is the second aspect of Ramanuja, his scholarship. The third one is his revolutionary aspect, reformation. I wouldn't say revolutionary, but reforming the society to the needs of that time. As we spoke, the other religions started, Abrahamic religions started entering the our Bharatavarsha, and people were affected by that, and the fruits of this Sanatana Dharma is not being reached to the common people. So Ramanuja brought all the society. So for him, it is not the kula, the caste is not the criteria you are not born into. Whoever, everyone who has bhakti can attain moksha, and God is for everyone, right? So after all, he is the one who created all of us. So in front of his eyes, we are all equal, and we are eligible to take the fruits of this Vaidika Dharma in their respective forms, whatever the profession they are following in that form. Bhakti, keeping the bhakti as a center stream, what main dhara sravanti we say, right? So there's a main dhara, and you can get the moksha, or renunciation, or whatever the terminology we use. So that is one aspect, other aspect of Ramanuja, and he really opened the doors of our Sanatana Dharma. Even we here, even until today also, is still here these kind of barricades, some not allowing some people into the temples, and that is, you can imagine the obstacles for everyone in those times. So it must have been very harsh in those times. So Ramanuja felt for everyone, and he's really the compassionate heart, and he brought everyone, and this helped to the Sanatana Dharma in also in preventing these people from, when these fruits of Sanatana Dharma reaches everyone, right? So they are more dedicated to this Dharma, and it acts as a protecting wall for all our the dharmic practices and temples and other. Ramanuja, what he did was, he's a visionary in that aspect. He gave 50% of the temple administration, not in the not in terms of like giving them a job, like now endowment department, you are an employee. Not that, they made them part of the entire system. If you take the Srirangam, Kashi, or any other temple system, it became a temple economy, and all the communities were contributing, and they were working as a wall, a protecting wall to this Sanatana Dharma. There is Brahmin community, there is Vaishya, Shudra. So people sometimes feel very shy to say the word Shudra. So it is not a bad word always. It is never a bad word. It is not a incorrect word at all, and it is So this is the reason Ramanuja again made sure that, you know, everybody is involved, everybody is, you know, part of our Sanatana Dharma. So everybody is eligible to get the fruits of this, and he made sure that everybody is part of this entire practice of Sanatana Dharma through the rituals and the temple practices. So this really helped our, you know, gave a very strong wall of protection to Sanatana Dharma, in even though there was lot of you know, attacks on our dharma in the um, uh, in the following times. So that is still acting. We are still able to. You can see the example is the Tirumala and Srirangam and all the any other temple administration. So it is still following the temple structure and organization level. The other aspect is kind of is his administration. Obviously, it both overlap this you know, reformation of the society and bringing everyone into the dharmic fold, making everyone part of the dharmic structure. Also, is his administration. So he created a very good structure of temple administration. Gave each and everyone has a responsibility. Even now we can see the how the temple Tirumala, the practice is there. So the who will come and open the door, who has the responsibility to take the, you know, clean the after the Abhishekam, the Perumal Vastrams, who can come. So they feel it right. You cannot, you know, they feel there is a nice story I want to tell here. So we all know the Malik Kafir attacked the Sriranganatha temple. So there was a nice story. And we all know in Tirumala there is a place called Rangamandapam, we call. So the story behind it is, so when this Malik Kafir attacked Sriranganatha temple, so there was a great scholar called Pillai Lokacharya. So they were all got a clue that a hint that these people are going to attack. So what they did was they constructed a wall in front of you know, Ranganatha, the all the Garbhagruham. So even if you can go and now see the Sriranganachiar temple, you see the two deities back to back. So they constructed a wall and installed another deity so that to fool these people, and they came and attacked. But meanwhile, they took the Ranganatha Namperumal deity from there, and they traveled all the way to Tirumala, and the Namperumal deity had stayed in Tirumala for a few years there. That is why it is still called Rangamandapam in Tirumala. So after certain time, again they thought the time is good, so they brought back the Namperumal deity, the Ranganatha deity, back to the Srirangam. Now both the deities they made another day. Meanwhile, while the deity was there, they made another deity, and both the deities were there. So they got confused, which is the original one, which is the not the original one. So everybody was confused. Even the archakas got confused and what to do. So then the dhobi, the one who takes care of the Perumal Vastrams, cleaning and bringing back after Abhishekam, he came and he let's perform the Abhishekam to both the you know, deities, and I'll take the Tirtham and I'll decide which deity is the original one. So he said, Ivane Namberumal. He said, finally, Ivane Namberumal. So he is the, you know, the true Namberumal of original. So that is the, meant to say is that is the belongingness that Ramanuja created with all the communities to the Lord, to the temple administration. So this is his administration. Again, now if we can see, Ramanuja had a vision that, you know, he constructed a dam in Tondanur in Karnataka area. When he lived there for 12 years, he constructed a dam. That dam still is available and serving the people. So that is one aspect of administration. He made the kings part of his the temple administration, everyone, so that no person he has the ultimate right to do anything wrong. So when you have all the stakeholders at part of the society stays together, and the temple administration goes well. Even if you can see in our southern states, temples doesn't have enough funds to serve. Even though there are a lot of funds, it is being misused. And one aspect I heard from our acharya is not, he did not give them the job, but they were given the certain land. The farmers and different professions, they were given the land, and whatever they were allowed to own the land, but whatever they get from the money or the wealth, that they will, part of it they will give it to the Ranganatha. So like that, to the deity. That is what the system that is there. Even if you can see in I think sometime in Srirangam, they bring all the crop or the dhanyam to the in front of the Ranganatha, and they really measure it and offer it to Ranganatha. So that made a practice that the temple administration, because if the temple is well managed and well served, the society is is served well, society is healthy, and the dharma practices were taken care of well. So this is the fourth aspect of Ramanuja's life. I think it's 10:30, but so these are the four aspects, and of course we can go through Ramanuja's life history. There are so many incidents, so many aspects of Ramanuja. I always remember is his the compassionate heart, right? That he climbed onto the temple tower. Ramanuja had 5 acharyas. He's called as Panchacharya Samashritaha. So one acharya is his own Sri Shaila Purna, his own uncle, and there is another acharya Mahapurna, and there is another acharya called Goshti Purna. So Sri Shaila Purna taught him Ramayana 18 times. That's where he is stationed in Tirumala while he was constructing the Govindaraja temple, because Govindaraja temple was destroyed by the Chola king that time. So he constructed that Govindaraja Swami Alayam in Tirupati down Tirumala, right? So he was stationed there and learning Ramayanam from Sri Shaila Purna 18 times. So you can imagine the dedication of Ramanuja to learn, not to, because he never felt, oh, I already know everything. Humility is important always, right? So that is the great humility. And of course, we all know the story of Ramanuja climbing up the Tirumala with his feet tied through his knees. He climbed, as you know, it is called Adisesha Avatara itself, the Tirumala. So, and when he went to Goshti Purna, he walked 18 times to Srirangam, from Srirangam to Goshtipuram. So it was almost like about 150 kilometers or something. I don't know exact distance. Always, every time he used to go, even this is at the phase, he already taken the sannyasa diksha, and he already had 108 other sannyasi. He's already became Yatiraja. He has 74 pithas he established, and at that time he was asked to go and seek knowledge from Goshti Purna through his other acharya. He was walking down. Every time he was walking down there, he was denied, and like that, all the people who were standing. If Ramanuja at this phase, he is in the Turi ashrama, if he was not given, what is the stage of us? What will happen to us? So this is the thought that is going through everyone. Finally, Ramanuja went, was accepted by his guru, Goshti Purna, and he gave the Ashtakshari Mantrartha. So, Ashtakshari Mantrartha, actually, it is Charamashloka Artha. The Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Charamashloka is there, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. That Artha was given to Ramanuja by his guru. So after knowing that, he got so much excited. If I am in this ashrama, in this stage, the rule was at that time, in their life span, only to one person they can impart that knowledge. That was the rule. So think about, people very, beings like us, a person like me. So it would have never been possible. So it is the greatness of Ramanuja. He felt for everyone, and he asked his teacher, Gurudeva, what will happen if I share this knowledge with you? You will go to, because you disobeyed the Guru's order, you will go to the Naraka. So then, let me go to the Naraka, but let everyone, get uplifted. So he climbs up to the temple tower and reveals the mantrartha to all of them. And then, of course, the story we all knew. And later Ramanuja was called by his guru, what have you done? So then he reveals, let me go to the Naraka, let them get uplifted. So his guru himself understands his greatness, the compassionate heart, and gives his son as his disciple. So that is the humility. Even, the Parasparam Bhavayantaha, the Guru understood, and Ramanuja was, shown his humility towards his Guru. So this kind of tradition that passed on to all of us, because of which even Anumacharya, Gatulanni Kilamaina, Gati Itade Ghanaguru Daivamu. So that is the reason why Anumacharya sings in praise of Ramanujacharya. And we are fortunate that all the contribution of our acharyas, how much ever time we can keep talking, it is always drop in the ocean. And only way we can repay is practicing and passing this wonderful, great tradition to our own next generation, and making sure they understand the contribution and follow these traditions and keep it alive always. So with that, I think I thought of shortening it, but it took some time. Hope if anyone has any questions, Vidya Garu, if we have time, we can take questions, but otherwise we can conclude.
Arvind, I have one basic question.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about Bhakti Siddhanta, but did Bhakti Siddhanta, was it existed even before Ramanuja, or did he uplifted, or did he contribute much more than what was prevailing at that time?
Yeah, Bhakti Siddhanta is always prevalent. Even if you can see in the Adi Shankara's contribution, Bhaja Govindam, you can still see Lakshmi and Nrsimha, Mama Dehi. That is the true form of Bhakti, right? So Bhakti is there, but it was not a mainstream, and it was not shared it was not given in the form of a philosophy or school of thought in a more organized way. So that is why we say it is not the Ramanuja or any Acharya is not founder. We say Pravartaka Acharya. They brought it up and presented it to everyone so that they can easily understand and practice. Even if the other dhara is there with Alvar, the Alvar Sampradayam is also there. Alvars is, it's all pure bhakti. They were not scholars. They were, born into every community, and it is through only bhakti, the unparalleled love, affection towards God, that itself is made them the great saints, right? So Bhakti Siddhanta is already there. Ramanuja is, always, there was another question to Praveenji as well. Why other acharyas were not so popular, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, this is the same reason they brought it up and made it accessible to everyone.
Mm.
So it is not that it is not part of the Vedic Vedantic philosophy. It is part of philosophy. The bhakti yoga itself is there, given by Krishna Paramatma himself.
Mhm. Thank you. Very nice coverage. Thank you for giving us that knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Arvind Garu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking us through the life history and also the teachings of Ramanujacharya. Thanks a lot. And in the interest of time, I will quickly ask Suparna Garu to start. But I think she has another program to join. So Suparna Garu, she has accepted to recite Saundarya Lahari and Bhajagovinda Stotram. So over to you, Suparna Garu.
Namaskaram Andi. Thank you for all the wonderful session, Andi. Praveen Garu, Arvind Garu. It was very nice. Thank you to Agraharam. So, Sankara Jayanthi Kabatti, I will sing his one of his most famous composition, Bhajagovindam, and only chant a few shlokas from Saundarya Lahari in the interest of time. And I will, before I get to Saundarya Lahari, I will say a few things about where I learned from and who I owe that whatever I learned to. But I will first start with Bhajagovindam. It will take about 10 minutes. Okay, Vidya Garu, I think it's hard for me to stop in between Bhajagovindam. It goes in a flow.
Sure, yes.
So I will just sing continuously. You can hear me okay, Kadani?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can hear you.
Pakaya Chadharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupini Avatara Varishtha Ramakrishna Vinde Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Samprapti sannihite kale, Samprapti sannihite kale, nahi rakshati dukram karane, nahi rakshati dukram karane, bhaja govindam, bhaja govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Mudajahi Dhanadamatrushnam, Mudajahi Dhanadamatrushnam, Guru Sadbuddhim Manasi Vitrishnam, Guru Sadbuddhim Manasi Vitrishnam, Yellabhasi Nija Karmopatam, Yellabhasi Nija Karmopatam, Vittoti Nodaya Chetam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Yavadvipto Parjanasataha Tan Nija Parivaro Yavadvipto Parjanasataha Tan Nija Parivaro Rataha Pascha Jivati Ye Jana Pascha Jivati Ye Jana वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति के कोऽपि न पृच्छति के भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते मा कुरु धनजन यौवन गर्वं हरति निमेष काल सर्वं मा गुरु जन यौवन गर्वं हरति निमेष काल सर्वं माया मयमिदम् अखिलं हित्वा मायामयमिदम् अखिलं हित्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वं प्रविश विदित्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वं प्रविश विदित्वा भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते सुरमन्दिरतरु मूलनिवासः शय्याभूतलं भजिनं वासः सुरमन्दिरतरु मूलनिवासः शय्याभूतलं भजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः तस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता गङ्गाजललवकणिका पीता भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता गङ्गाजललवकणिका पीता सकृतापि येन मुरारी अपि येन मुरारि समच सकृतापि येन मुरारि समच क्रियते तस्य यमेव न च क्रियते तस्य यमेव न च भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनं पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनम् इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते गेयं गीता नाम सहस्रं ध्येयं श्रीपति रूपमजस्रं गेयं गीता नाम सहस्रं ध्येयं श्रीपति रूपमजस्रं ध्येयं सचन सङ्केचितं ध्येयं सज्जन सङ्केचितो ध्येयो दीनजनाय च वित्वं ध्येयो दीनजनाय च वित्वं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते अर्थमनर्थं भावय नित्यं नास्ति कतत् सुख लेश सत्यम् अर्थमनर्थं भावय नित्यं नास्ति ततः सुख लेश सत्यं पुत्रादपि धन भाजा भीतिः पुत्रादपि धन भाजा भीतिः सर्वत्रैषा विहिता रीतिः सर्वत्रैषा विहिता रीतिः भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते गुरुचरणाम्बुज निर्भरपतः संसारा रचिरा भवमुक्तः गुरुचरणाम्बुज निर्भरपतः संसारा रचिरा भवमुक्तः सेन्द्रियमानस नियमाते सेन्द्रियमानस नियमादे यक्षसि निज हृदय सन्देहं यक्षसि निज हृदय सन्देहं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. I apologize for any mistakes. I was up till 3 a.m. working and I didn't get chance to practice. I have been in meetings, my voice is really gone, and this is a Raga Malika. Obviously, it is nowhere close to the great legend MS Samma's rendering, but I tried my best with my whatever I'm going through right now with my voice and my health and all. So please excuse any mistakes in rendering or pronunciation.
Thanks a lot, Suparna Garu. I mean, I know you have a very busy day today. You're going through some production calls, and in spite of that, you agreed to sing.
I have to correct.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that.
Thank
sorry for pushing your time as well.
No, sorry. It is actually my privilege. Thank you so much that I took a break. I could take a break from my work and do this divine thing. So thank you.
Okay.
Now, Saundarya Lahari, obviously there are 100 slokas in Saundarya Lahari. It is not possible to chant it in the specified time. Also because my voice is not cooperating today. But I'm going to chant the first 3 or 5 shlokas and then move to the last 10. I want to say, before I start, big pranamams to my mother who taught me this, who actually didn't even teach me. I didn't learn it from anybody. I grew up listening to her, just listening to her. And I hope I'm able to do justice. I think she's on the call and my brother is there. So I hope, Amma, you are listening. This is my gratitude to you for making us listen to this since childhood. So her tune is every 10 shlokas have different tune. It's again a Raga Malika. I cannot render like her. So like I said, I will just render the first few and then move to the last 10 and finish up. Thank you so much. That should take just 10 minutes or maybe less than that. Thank you. Looking at the lyrics here. Bhumoskalitapadana भूमिरेवावलम्बनं त्वयि जाता पराधानां त्वमेव शरणं शिवे शिवशक्त्या युक्तो यदि भवति शक्तः प्रभवितुं न चेदेवं देवो न खलु कुशलः स्पन्दितुमपि अतः स्वामाराध्यां हरिहरविरिञ्चादिभिरपि प्रणन्तुं स्तोतुं वा कथमकृत पुण्य प्रभवति तनीयां सम्पांसुं तव चरण पङ्केरुहभवं विरिञ्चि सञ्चिन्वन् विरचयति लोकान् विकलं वहत्येनं सौरिः कथमपि सहस्रेण शिरसां हरः संक्षुत्यैनं भजति भसितो धूलनविधिम् अविद्यानामन्ता स्तिमिरमहिरद्वीपनगरी जडानां चैतन्या सबकमकरन्दस्तुतिजरी दरिद्राणां चिन्तामणिगुणनिका जन्मजलधौ निमग्नानां दंष्ट्रा मुररिपुवराहस्य भवति. So that is how she has different, the first 10 shlokas are one tune. Now I will, for those of you who are following, I'm just telling the number. I will now jump to number 20, which is a very important shloka is what my mother told me. That is why I'm chanting that. One second, I'm looking at. Sorry, I'm just looking for that 20th one. One second. किरन्ति मङ्गेभ्यः किरणने कुरुम्बामृतरसं हृदि त्वामादत्ते हिमकरशिलामूर्तिमिव यः ससर्पाणां दर्पं समयति शकुन्तादिपविय ज्वलपृष्ठां दृश्या सुखयति सुधाधारशिरया. Now I will just wind up with the last 10 slokas, 90 to 100, which are again in a different ragam, and that I'll conclude. Because I'm getting messages from my work also, sorry about that. So 91 is where the new ragam starts. I'm going there. या सक्रीडा परिचयमिवारब्धु मनसः स्खलन्तस्ते केलं पवनकलहंसा न जहति अतस्तेषां शिक्षां सुभगमणिमञ्जीररणितच्छलादाचक्षाणं चरणकमलं चारुचरिते गतास्ते मञ्चत्वं द्रुहिणहरिरुद्वे स्वरभृतः शिव स्वच्छाया घटित प्रकट प्रच्छ शरदपटः त्वदीयानां भासां प्रतिफलनरागारुणतया शरीरे सङ्गारो रसैव दृशां दोग्धिकुतुकम् आराळाकेशेषु प्रकृतिः सरला मन्दहसिते शिरीषाभाचित्ते तृषदुपलशोभाकुचतटे भृशं तन्वी मध्ये पृथुरुरसिरारोह विषये जगत्रातुं शम्भो जयति करुणा काचिदरुणा कलङ्कः कस्तूरी रजनिकरबिम्बं जलमयं कलाभिकर्पूरे अकर्कतर्ककण्डं निबिडितम् अतस्त्वद्भोगेन प्रतिदिनमिदं रिक्तकुहरं विधिर्भूयो भूयो निबिडयति नूनं तव कृते पुरारातेरन्तः पुरमसि ततः स्वच्छरणयो सपर्या मर्यादा तरलकरणा नाम सुलभा तथा हेते नीताः शतमखमुखा सिद्धिमतुलां तव द्वारोपान्ता स्थितिभिरणिमाद्याभिरमरः कलत्रं वैधात्रं कति कति भजन्ते न कवयः श्रियो देव्याः को वा न भवति पतिः कैरपि धनैः महादेवं हित्वा तव सति सती नाम चरमे कुचाभ्यावासङ्गः कुरवतरोरप्यसुलभः गिरामाहुर्देवीं द्रुहिण गृहिणीमागमविदो हरे पत्नीं पद्मां हरसहचरीमद्रितनयां तुरीया कापि त्वं दुरधिगमने सीममहिमा महामाया विश्वं भ्रमयसि परब्रह्म महिषी कथा काले मातः कथय कलितालक्तकरसं पिबेयं विद्यार्थी तव चरणनिर्नेजनजलं प्रकृत्या माकानामपि च कविता कारणतया तदा दत्ते वाणी मुखकमलताम्बूलरसतां सरस्वत्या लक्ष्मा विधिहरिसपत्नो विहरते रते पातिव्रत्यं शिथिलयतिरं येन वपुषा चिरञ्जीवन्नेव क्षपितपशुपा सव्यतिकरः परानन्दाभिख्यं रसयति रसं त्वद्भजनवान् प्रदीपद्वालाभि दिवसकरनीराजनविधिः सुधासूतेश्चन्द्रो अपलजलला वैराग्यरचना स्वकीयैरम्भोभिः सलिलनिधि सौहित्यकरणम् प्रदीयाभिर्वाभिस्तव जननि वाचां स्तुतिरियं प्रतिपज्ज्वालाभिर्दिवसकरनीराजनविधिः सुधासूतेश्चन्द्रो पललजलवैराग्यरचना स्वकीयैरम्भोभिः सलिलनिधि सौहित्यकरणम् त्वदीयाभिर्वाभिस्तव जननि वाचां स्तुतिरियं सौन्दर्यलहरी मुख्यस्तोत्रं संवातदायकं भगवत्पात संक्लुप्तं पठेन्मुक्तो भवेन्नरः. Again, apologies. Sorry if I made mistakes. I was getting messages.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Garu. Yeah, when time permits, we can chant all 10 together in all the different ragas. So, yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pawan, you are there for Totakashtakam Monday? I think after that we can conclude the recording itself. Pawan, you are there online?
Yes, Andy.
Yeah.
Om Gurubhyo Namaha. विधिता किल शास्त्र सुधा जलदे महितोपनिषत् कदितार्थनिदे हृदये कलये विमलं चरणं भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् करुणावरुणालय पालय मां भवसागर दुःख विदून हृदम् रचया किल दर्शन तत्त्वविधं भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् भवता जनता सुहिता भविता निज बोध विचारण चारुमते कलयेश्वर जीव विवेकविदं भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् भव एव भवानिति मे नितरां समजायत चेतसि कौतुकिता मम वारय मोह महाजलधिं भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् सुकृते धिकृते बहुधा भवतो भविता समदर्शन लालसता अतिदीनमिमं परिपालय मां भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् जगतीमवितुं कलिताकृतयो विचरन्ति महामह सत्सलतः अहिमां सुरिवात्र विभासि गुरो भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् गुरुपुङ्गवपुङ्गवकेतनते समतामयतां नहि कोऽपि सुधीः शरणागत वत्सल तत्त्वनिधे भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् विधितान मया विसदैककला न च किञ्चन काञ्च नमस्ति गुरो द्रुतमेव विदेहि कृपां सहजां भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् भवशङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् भव शङ्कर देशिकमे शरणम् श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः
Thanks, Pawan Garu. Thanks a lot. And I think with also over almost 2 hours since we started the session, I think we will conclude here. But thanks to Praveen Garu and Arvind Garu. Very beautiful session, and you both took us through the entire life history of our gurus, two very important gurus who have given us the guidance for Sanatana Dharma to follow for the next centuries together. And thanks a lot for your effort and your time today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
organizing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.